It's Monday, September 9th, 2013. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Motherboards. I can't believe we haven't talked about Motherboards.
Or have we?
Let's do this. Well, we're back legit from PAX.
Yep.
And now we got pretty much nothing until MagFest.
What?
Not yet. I'm not gonna do the second half of that until it's within a month. MagFest season is kind of like the lead up to Christmas. You can't bring out that Christmas tree at least until after Halloween.
MagFest has effectively replaced Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever, Kwanzaa. You know, you don't celebrate that shit. It's just fucking New Year's, MagFest. That is what is coming.
So
right? Fuck everything else.
I almost regret not going to one of those New Year's MagFest, but at the same time, I kind of like my own New Year's. So I like the fact that now we're going to go to MagFest after having New Year's in the same town as MagFest, but not at MagFest.
Well, there are a few things people should know. Next weekend, the 21st and 22nd, is the Maker Faire in New York City.
That's the following weekend. Oh, no, it's
I said the 21st and the 22nd. Yes. Yeah.
Not this weekend. Next, you did it right for once. Usually I jump all on you for doing that wrong. I apologize.
Anyway,
I was incorrect.
October 18, 19, 20, Burning Con 2013, the Pentaclagon.
Can you still buy tickets?
I don't know.
I still got to submit my game.
Yep. I might miss Saturday.
What?
There's a Netrunner tournament.
Really?
No?
Really?
Okay. So, normally, I would be like, Netrunner tournament. There's like 2 Netrunner tournaments a month. And there's 1 Burning Con a year.
Also, Saturday is the heavy-hitting day
right.
of Burning Con.
Why would I skip the heavy-hitting day of Burning Con for a Netrunner tournament, of which there are 2 a month, when there is only 1 Burning Con a year? That is just fucking stupid, right? And normally, I would. But this isn't just any Netrunner tournament.
Okay.
This is the Netrunner Plugged In Tour. They're basically, the Fantasy Flight peoples are traveling around the country to only a handful of places to run, basically, Super Netrunner tournaments between October 4th and
what differentiates
November 3rd.
A Super Netrunner tournament from a regular one?
Basically, the official dudes are going to be there, and it's all super serious business. And they're giving away, I don't care about the swag.
What, rare cards?
No. It's just swag, like playmats and stuff. I don't care about that shit.
Okay.
But if you go to one of these, you can vote. There's 2 runners, and you vote on which one you want to be real, and then whichever one wins all the voting, and it's only voting by people at these tournaments, will become an actual runner card, and the other one will be forever derezzed.
Great. So Rainbow Dash is going to be the next runner.
Well, no,
I'm assuming.
the 2 choices are right here. There's the Collective and there's Laramie Fisk.
I vote for Laramie Fisk.
I also vote for Laramie Fisk simply because he's not only better in every way.
He's better in one way, his name.
Yeah. He's a criminal, and we got the other one's a shaper, and we have plenty of shapers. So the Collective, what that one does is the first time you perform the same action 3 times in a row each turn, gain a click. Which is pretty powerful because, like, if you're running a Magnum Opus with those guys, you could just be like,
Magnum.
Exactly. But their minimum deck size is 55.
Well, 50. I thought you were going to say 50.
No, it's big.
50.
They have to have a big deck, and their influence is 5. So it's pretty much shaper cards and more shaper cards.
Not going to play with that.
Yeah, Laramie Fisk, he's normal. He's a criminal. 45-15 normal numbers, and it says the first time you make a successful run on a central server each turn, you may force the corp to draw 1 card. So when their hand is full with 5 cards, you run HQ. You take a look-see, maybe with a nerve agent or an HQ interface. Then, if they still have 5 cards, you know, now they've got 6. And then their turn starts and they draw another one. Now they got 7. And they're going to have to throw something out.
Right,
or use it all, or something, and you run HQ again with your HQ interfaces.
So, Scott, point the first. It's not Tuesday, it's Monday.
All right.
Point the second. You always give me shit for talking about this shit in the non-meta moment section of the show.
That's true.
So what gives?
It's an intentional back attack.
So you realize all you have done is given me carte blanche.
No.
That in fact, you've legitimized me, Scott.
Not at all.
And if you and Emily have learned anything about me, it's that legitimizing me is the last thing you want to do.
Did you, right?
Did
not try to shut me down.
I let you talk for almost 5 minutes about Netrunner on a Monday show. I did not shut you down.
You have noted that it was not good, have you not?
So, is it
therefore,
good or not?
If my Netrunner talk was no good, then also all your talks are no good.
Only meta talks in the pre-meta part of the show.
All your talks belong to crap.
So, bought a new video card. It's
Okay.
about time. I've been rocking a GTX 260.
That's not a bad card. That can play a lot of games.
Yeah,
what game out today
Counter-Strike Go.
needs a better card than that?
Counter-Strike Go.
How does Counter-Strike Go not run at full frames with the 260?
Scott, it doesn't.
Really?
Yeah, no, so actually, it will run at full frames
Just not full quality.
by cutting your draw distance.
Big deal.
I don't think you understand how narrow my draw distance is between my body and what I can hit. In pretty much any map, if there's a window and I want to snipe in that window, I cannot see beyond the window. Sometimes I can't even see the window.
That sounds more like reflections than draw distance.
No,
like
you can't
window
see behind the window either.
So just shoot. It's a window.
There might not be someone there.
So you wasted some bullets. It's not like they're expensive.
Also, the window's big and I can't see where to shoot. It is... Having a 260 has significantly impacted my ability to win.
Get a gun that fucking zooms.
Yeah, it zooms into nothing.
Oh.
You can't see player models that far away. If there's no window, I can't see if there's a person there.
So if there is a person there, he kills you and you can't even see him.
Yes.
That sucks.
Yes, the GTX 260 is too old.
What if you just turn down like the texture qualities and increase the other?
You can't control the draw distance as far as I can tell. It's all dynamic.
Anyway.
Also, details disappear to a surprising degree, and they do it so well that you don't notice it, but if you're paying attention at all, like you're running and suddenly a tree, like all these leaves appear on it.
Oh, my 680 don't know what that's like.
Yeah, you know what? My 770 didn't cost that much.
No, it didn't. Probably
Yeah.
cheaper than my 680 by a lot. But Adobe will just recognize.
Nope, Adobe will recognize the 770 now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, in fact,
They got their fucking shit together, assholes.
I got Adobe to recognize my 260.
Nice.
Doesn't work so well.
No, with some hacks.
No, you can basically tell it in Creative Commons. You can be like, yo, dog.
Creative Commons?
Yeah.
You mean Creative Cloud?
Creative Cloud. You can be like, yo, dog, use my video card. And if it's not on the list, it'll be like, yo, dog, I won't guarantee I'm not going to crash, but okay.
Speaking of
bro.
Creative Cloud, I didn't actually have a news, but you just reminded me of a news.
The Photoshop news?
Yeah, but there's a second news.
All right.
Well, there's two Photoshop-related newses.
Lay down the news.
One Photoshop-related news. They now have Creative Cloud Photographer Edition. You pay $10 a month. I think this is a limited time deal, so if you want it, get it right away.
They said they have no plans to raise the price in the foreseeable future.
That's
now,
good.
Granted, we know that Adobe can foresee...
We didn't even finish saying what the hell this is.
About exactly 1 year. So.
Yeah. $10 a month, you get the full Photoshop, the real deal, and the full Lightroom, the real deal, with perfect upgrades forever, just like all the other Creative Cloud stuff.
Yep.
And you get some other stuff, like a Behance account and all that stuff you're going to use. And it's only $10 a month.
Now,
that's $120 a year.
This is huge.
For the real Photoshop. This finally a reasonable price for a big expensive software. This has never happened before.
It's huge for another reason too. The biggest complaint that was semi-legitimate against Creative Cloud, because most people complaining are morons. They don't realize that paying that monthly fee is actually way less than buying the full editions all the time.
It's only cheaper if you upgrade all the time. If you buy the full Creative Suite and never upgrade it ever, then you're better off doing that than buying the Creative Cloud.
You were only better off if you bought one of those limited subsets because you didn't use the rest of it. To buy everything
the
was
Master Suite?
Yeah, it was pretty expensive.
Yep.
But like Production Premium, yeah, I could have gotten away with just keeping my CS4.
Anyway.
But anyway, the biggest legitimate complaint was that Photoshop is special in that there's a huge number of people whose profession is photography or who are serious photography hobbyists.
There's a lot of people, the only goddamn thing they need is Photoshop.
Yes,
they
Photoshop's
don't need
the
all
only
that,
piece.
all that Photoshop is used more than all those other things combined,
If
probably.
you use more than one Adobe thing, you probably use like 5 or 10 Adobe things. Or you just use Photoshop and Lightroom.
Yep. Even most people only use Photoshop, not even Lightroom.
I know, but now, just like how with Creative Cloud, suddenly people started using Adobe they normally didn't use. Like, I started using InDesign and Illustrator because before I didn't have it, but now
you know what I
use it.
learned? You know Typekit, where all the fonts come from?
Yeah.
Creative Cloud, the one we pay for, actually includes a very high-class Typekit account. I thought I had to pay for those fonts, and it was just an integrated thing. I already paid for those fonts without even knowing it.
Yeah.
I can just go get fonts and use them all I want. And if I use them on a website, I can do that too, as long as the website doesn't get a fuck ton of traffic. And then I had to pay a little bit of money. But as long as the website just doesn't get crazy traffic, I can use those fonts on a website.
So
or
yeah?
on anything I want.
So you implied that there was another piece to your news.
Oh, right. So the second piece, Photoshop added a feature today that is incredibly interesting. There's a lot of people out there. You know, Photoshop is a tool of many uses not intended, right? It was originally intended for photo editing.
Yep.
And now people use it for
3D
fucking
modeling.
every raster image,
Nah.
any imaging thing, period. They use Photoshop, right? One thing people use Photoshop for is to draw websites. And they basically draw a picture of a website and then cut it up into pieces and then
dog,
make a website.
I'm going to flash back to the year 2000.
Yeah.
I was at RIT. And I'm taking my intro to new media class, and they're like, make a website. And they told us, and they gave us the software to draw it, but not in Photoshop. They were like, the noobs would use Photoshop for this, but you're pros. And we got to use Fireworks.
Which is dead now.
Fireworks 3.0,
Great.
right alongside Macromedia Director.
Right. So anyway, the new feature they added to Photoshop was basically sort of what Microsoft is an Excel move, right? Microsoft is like, you're going to use Excel for that? Fine, we'll help you out and make that better. So Adobe was basically like, fine, you want to use Photoshop to draw websites and not use all this edge stuff that we made for you? Fine, here's this feature. So what the feature is this. You draw a website. You keep all the pieces of the website in different layers, right?
Right.
And you tell it, hey, Photoshop, I'm drawing a website, yo. It says, all right, bro, I got you. Every layer is then turned into a JPEG, GIF, or PNG and put into a folder. And it's constantly updated. So as you edit the layer, it'll update the JPEG, the GIF, or the PNG in that folder so that you can just go reload. You can edit the Photoshop, reload your website. Edit the Photoshop, reload the website that's on your local machine until it looks right.
That is actually, I'm not going to make fun of it. It's an excellent example of use case driven design philosophy.
That is a crazy good feature. If you're making websites in Photoshop,
Yeah.
that efficiency gain you get from that feature
Zoom
is
out a little bit.
off the hook.
When people make software in general, way too many people for websites, for software design, for everything, they have a vision of what their thing should be used
Think about
for,
it. Yeah.
and they strive toward that. No, look at what people actually try to do and make that easier.
Yeah, it's like, think about what the workflow was before. It was go into Photoshop,
Yup.
edit a bunch of stuff, cut a piece out, save it in a separate folder, and every time you had to cut a piece out, save it in a separate folder. Now it's just always
Maybe
saved.
you were checking
and there's
it
no
into
cutting.
like
There's
Subversion
no
or
cutting.
something.
None. No cutting.
Other than the layers, which you should be
There's
using
just
layers anyway.
There's just automatically a folder full of files. Automatic.
Not bad.
It's going to save people like hours a day who do this stuff.
Except some of the people who should use that kind of feature are the ones who won't.
Or they don't know about it yet because it's only in the newest Photoshop.
The people who
Creative
have
Cloud.
CS3 and refuse to upgrade.
Yeah,
because they
it's
don't like
only
the new
in the
interface.
Creative Cloud Photoshop if you pay for the the $10 or the more dollars.
So, in all this talk about the NSA and encryption and anonymity,
Have we not talked about this enough? We've
and
been talking
security.
about this since forever.
Oh, well, one, we haven't talked about it that much on Geeknights.
Did a whole episode, multiple episodes on privacy and encryption and security. And
Yeah, but we didn't talk about the NSA stuff. But in all of that, it seems like people talk about Bitcoins a lot too. And my news is to remind you that they're not that related.
No.
Bitcoins are not anonymous.
No.
Guys, they're not. They're pseudo-anonymous. They're intrinsic is the word you should use. But they are not anonymous because there's a thing called a blockchain, which is how the whole goddamn thing works. So this researcher took a Bitcoin, analyzed its blockchain, and was like, right there, that's where the guy bought drugs on Silk Road, and figured out how you can basically track what people have done with Bitcoins. And there's a good chance you could track the actual person that did the transaction if you really wanted to.
Okay.
Now, people could take steps to doubly, triply anonymize and use services and everything, but the fact remains that Bitcoin's primary use is not that it's anonymous. It's that it's intrinsic and you can use it without trusting the other person you're doing business with. It's almost like a cash escrow, except the cash is all virtual. So if you think you can use Bitcoins to do anonymous, shady stuff, I recommend you read this article. I got one more little news because that one was little. So I heard there's a lot of sexism in the
universe.
In the tech industry in particular.
There's a high concentration of it in that particular place. That's sort of where it comes from these days.
Yeah, it pretty much comes from the MRA subreddit and from the tech industry. But so
those aren't the same thing.
And I don't think a lot of the people who post to MRA actually made it to the tech industry. I think they're wishing they could be in the tech industry, but haven't actually quite gotten there.
They get closer to their mecca.
But some people, two dudes, I think I have their names here, from Sydney, Jethro Bots,
great
and
name,
David Bolton,
okay,
at a TechCrunch event.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Already this is looking worse and worse every second.
Disrupt, which is a hackathon.
It's pretty much the worst thing ever.
They presented their joke app, and it was supposed to be a joke, and their joke app was Tit Stare.
Wow, great job, guys. That's going to win them over.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and I see a lot of the internet starting to try to defend them. Like, look, guys.
What?
No.
What?
Just stop it.
WAT what?
Yes. Anytime you forget how egregious this shit is, this is just to remind you that shit like this happens at these conferences pretty much all the time.
Do you even internet?
For every one scandal that happens at a PAX or related to a PAX, there's like 100 related to tech conferences.
And they're way worse. And it's like, how clueless are these people?
They did apologize, but it looks like it's because they were forced to by TechCrunch.
Yeah, TechCrunch is also not the greatest.
Yeah, but at least they put the token effort forth.
Sure.
The thing is, the app itself, what it does, were it not a joke and were it not presented in this way, could actually be cool. Because the idea is, let's say I buy a new video card, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the app I would make. I'd call it unboxing and use some clever Web 3.0 spelling of boxing.
Yep.
So I take my video card and I hold my phone up. One camera is pointed at the package. The other one's pointed at my face. I unbox it live and it videos the unboxing and my reaction to the unboxing at the same time.
Why don't we just make a app called Double Cam that videos both cameras at the same time?
Yeah, but I would call it unboxing and really sell it as, and have the site be all about, you tag what you unboxed. So you can go to the site and be like, video cards, GTX 770, and you'll get all the unboxing videos of people who just got that, or their iPhone.
People would, like Photoshop, people would end up using it just for the double cam part and not care about unboxing.
And you know what? That's great, but having that conceit like Vine or like Instagram gets it that initial cachet among morons. So yeah, guys, make this app, just don't make it Tit Stare. But anyway, things of the day. Ever wonder why we can't use our phones on planes?
Bullshit.
This video is not what you expect, and it is great.
Because it would annoy the fuck out of everyone else on the plane.
The conceit of this video is the stewardess is like, make sure you turn off your cell phones, and this guy's like, why? Like, really, why? I just want to know. I'll turn it off. Just explain to me why. And she explains. I was like, okay. But, okay, how come I have to turn off my Kindle? And it just escalates. This one woman's like, wait a minute. So can I hold the plane hostage with my 3DS? And it just goes off from there. This is an excellent video. And I just want to point out that part of this video is kind of true. I have flown around the world with work Blackberries that I always forget to turn off. They're just on in my carry-on the whole time.
When I was on the flight to Australia, there were some other PAX people on that plane, and they played wireless Mario Kart in flight and didn't give a fuck with each other.
On our flight home from PAX, as soon as the stewardess walked past me, after telling everyone to turn everything off, I just turned my Kindle back on and kept reading, and the plane didn't crash.
Yeah, you know what? Most people I see on planes, it's like you're supposed to turn your shit off.
Oh, I've never, ever turned my phone
No,
off.
I've never seen anyone on the plane actually
Put the phone in autistic mode, and that's it.
Yeah, they just freaking, they don't even really do airplane mode. Sometimes they do airplane mode most of the time, but most people just freaking just put the phone away. They like click it, the screen goes blank. They think that's off. They don't fucking know. And sometimes just because they're dumb and not,
So yeah, that's what I got. It's pretty funny.
Whatever. Okay.
What I got.
So when I was a kid, I
Nothing of
watched
the
a lot
day.
of kids shows,
He-Man.
and one of them is one that I did not watch, but I know about that Rim watched.
Oh, M.A.S.K.
No,
Oh.
Thomas the TE.
Oh.
You saw this video.
Oh my God.
This is a super cut of Thomas the Tank Engine train crashes.
And not some of that Shining Time Station bullshit. We're talking about the actual Thomas the Tank Engine show.
Yeah.
Do you know who Mr. Conductor was on Shining Time Station?
Well, there were two.
Yeah.
There's Ringo Starr
Yup.
and George Carlin.
Yup.
And I did not appreciate who either of them was when I was very small.
You want to know something that really says a lot about my childhood? I didn't know who Ringo Starr was. Like, I didn't know that was Ringo Starr.
Not when I didn't understand that for a while.
But I knew that was George Carlin from the beginning. I think that says more about my parents than about me.
Yeah, I didn't watch either one.
This is actually a pretty good video. In the meta moment. Oh, wait, Scott already ruined the meta moment. It's over.
Oh.
What do we do now?
Book club book.
The book club book is Stasiland. I keep forgetting to update the website. I'm going to update the website tonight.
I keep forgetting to read
the book.
it.
It's pretty good. And again, I can't stress this enough. The reason I want you to read this book is because you're not nearly mad enough about the NSA.
Why would I read a book when I could just watch Salty Bit? Okay, I guess other metas, you might have discovered us because you saw us at PAX.
Yeah.
You can go and check us out everywhere on the internet that there are things.
You know how many of our videos of other PAX panels are on YouTube?
You know how many videos of things in general are on YouTube? I bought an Elgato Game Capture HD, and I was just testing it out. I'm just streaming me playing games.
Real soon, you're going to
People
start...
seem to like it for some reason.
I think you're going to get Scott and mine's regular outlaw matches.
Maybe. I don't know how we're going to plug the Atari into the Elgato, though.
It's got RCA out.
I don't know. It needs component out. It's a Game Capture HD.
God damn it. Is there an Elgato SD? Is there like Elgato?
If there is, I don't have it.
We'll use the Atari emulator, I guess.
Maybe. What other... Yeah, but check us out on the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Google Pluses,
Google Plus.
the forum on our own website.
Our forum's pretty awesome.
Rim has a Tumble.
I do have a Tumble.
I have some blogs I never update once a year.
Nah.
I don't know. All the places on the internet that you go, we're there. Follow us and shit.
Yes. And we'll be at MagFest, and Emily and I and Caldwell will be at SPX this coming weekend. If you live anywhere near DC, you should go to SPX.
I'm too busy for that shit.
Yeah, what are you going to do, play Netrunner?
Salty Bet.
Salty Bet?
And Netrunner.
Oh, someone's got to make the Salty Bet app. Just on your phone.
I would just Salty Bet all day.
Just in your Google Glass, just all day
Oh my
long.
God. It'd just be like, anytime there's a new person to bet on, it's like, all right, who is it? Ryu versus, waifu. Always bet waifu. $10 on waifu. I just say, $10. I got $10 on waifu. And then it just takes the bet. And then it shows me the result, and then it shows me the next contenders.
Oh my God, I just watched this match where it said Goku.
I think our next Tuesday show is Salty Bet. So
I think it is.
So no show, no talking right now.
All right, I'm going to spoil, just so you guys know to listen to that show. I watched the match. This character's name was Goku, and there was nothing there. Like nothing. I'm like, what?
I watched a fight yesterday. It was, I forget who, against Mike Tyson, as in Punch Out Mike Tyson.
All in on Tyson.
I was all in on Tyson, and that was not a bad idea. No one fucks with the champ. Iron Mike was made of iron.
So I can't believe we never did a show on motherboards.
I hope we didn't. I searched our website. And
It'll be interesting to see if our opinions on motherboards have changed since the last time we did a show, if we have in fact talked about motherboards.
I hope we haven't, but yeah, I searched our archives, didn't find an episode.
I
searched on Newegg and I said, what part of a computer haven't we done a show on?
And I know when we got to the point of like C optical drives, CDRWs.
We're digging the bottom of the barrel. But again, the motherboard is the most important part of the computer. How have we not done a show on it?
I know. Now, I'm sure we've talked about them in a secondary sense in our, like, how to build a PC.
I'm sure we have.
Yeah. But motherboard actually kind of matters less than it used to in a lot of ways.
In some ways it matters more, and in some ways it matters less. It
Well,
matters more in that it's called the motherboard for a reason, right? Like the mothership. It is the core. It is the computer, most of it, right? It is like the important part that connects everything together.
But at the same time, the processor does
The
90%
processor
of the
does
work.
the work, but everything goes through the motherboard, right?
But it's interesting if you made a graph of like how important the decision of your motherboard is. You basically didn't have a choice until, I mean, the era of people building their own computers who weren't uber nerds.
Mid to late 90s.
Yeah, like people didn't build their own 486s that commonly.
Yeah, it happened much more when the Pentium lines came out is when computer building started to appear. And not really until the Pentium Pro 2 did it really start to happen.
Yeah, that and when the AMD K6 chips came out.
That's when modern PC building really started to happen.
Yeah, that is when you'd go to egghead.com and you'd spend an entire week doing research on this motherboard work with this?
Computer Shopper magazine was around in the late 90s,
Yeah.
so you could,
But the modern sensibility of picking all your components and building a computer was not widespread.
No, Computer Shopper magazine was the only way to do it before internets really took over.
Before egghead.com, that was not something I did. The first computer I built was a K7.
Yeah.
The K7 was when...
First one I built was a Pentium 3.
Yeah, I did not build a Pentium. I never built a Pentium back in the day.
So speaking of motherboards, right? So the most important part of the motherboard is basically the North Bridge, South Bridge. And that's basically been the way motherboards have been made for a long-ass time.
It used to matter a lot what you picked.
Yeah, but basically there's these chips on the motherboard that are the North Bridge and the South Bridge. And those do all the work of, getting the memory to talk to the, processor, to talk to the video ports, right? To do all this sort of other stuff, to talk to the I.O. ports with the SATAs and all that kind of stuff is all in the North Bridge and the South Bridge. It's split between these two chips, all right? And when I first bought a computer, it was a Intel 440BX. The most reliable chipset on Earth.
That PC ran forever.
That Pentium 3 450 never died. When I thought it was dead, it was actually the power supply, and I didn't realize it.
Now,
and when I got a new power supply, it just worked again.
It wasn't so much that the hardware didn't die. It was also that it was just really stable. But I think that was partly due to the fact that younger kids might not remember home-built computers used to be mad unstable if you didn't know what you were doing. You had to actually do a lot of research. Like, all right,
setting up all these timings in the BIOS and voltages.
This VIA chipset. But if I buy this video card, it might not work unless I change the clock on this. Or, well, I bought this one kind of RAM. I got to up the voltage a tiny bit to make it work.
Yep.
But if I up it too much, it'll burn out.
Modern BIOSes and now EFI, which is in most motherboards, just automatically does all that shit correctly almost all the time.
I remember the first time I overclocked with my 8-bit motherboard. I was so excited. And I went in there and I upped the multiplier and it wouldn't fucking post because that was a mistake. And then instead, I increased the FSB from 100 megahertz to 133 megahertz.
Whoa.
That was a huge performance gain. And it also crashed about once a week playing Counter-Strike.
Right.
But I got a lot more frames.
Right. So when you're shopping for motherboards, you're going to see, they're going to tell you sort of like what kind of chipset is on there, right? In terms of North and South Bridge. And I don't know all of them these days, but I know the Intel ones are sort of split between the ones that have the letter Z and the ones that don't. And the ones with the letter Z, those tend to have like these integrated video cards and stuff like that going on. And the ones without the Z, those don't have that. Those are more like just motherboards.
Yep. Now,
right?
if we're talking about advice on buying motherboards, what it really comes down to nowadays is the more expensive ones usually aren't better. They just have more features that you probably don't need.
Right. And if you're talking about practically speaking, right, when you buy a motherboard today, it's all about how many connectors does it have of which kinds, right? So, it's like, how many USB ports can I get on this thing? How many do you need?
Now,
I need a lot of fucking USB ports. And I don't want to buy a USB hub.
Scott said connectors. For the longest time, I would look at a spec on a motherboard and I'd be like, all right, I need at least 2 ISAs and I need like 6 PCIs because what? I'd have sound card, MIDI card, separate game controller card, video card. There used to not be like AGP or all these ways to plug those things in. My SCSI card, another hard drive controller.
My Pentium 3 had so many cards. My computer now has a video card.
I know. I don't think I've put a card that wasn't a video card in any computer I've built since 2000.
Yeah.
Nope. I put the sound card, the PCI sound card, into the computer I built around 2004.
Okay.
It had one PCI legacy slot for that sound card.
Cool. But yeah, it's all about how many connectors. Slots are still sort of important if you're going to put stuff in them, but there's just less stuff to put in them these days. How many RAM slots are there, right? How many, really important, how many SATA connectors are there? So how many drives can you connect? Does it even have a floppy connector if you have an old floppy drive? Does it even have old IDE connectors if you have really old hard drives? You know, or maybe your CD-ROM isn't SATA and it needs an old, IDE ribbon cable.
You know what? Seriously, don't bother with IDE. If you have any device that needs IDE,
get an external thing, get all the data out of it?
No, just buy a new one of that device. A CDRW's like $12.
That's true. Does the motherboard have connectors for all the audio inputs on the front of your case?
I would argue you don't want to use the onboard sound anyway.
Yeah, well, does it have... Well, most people,
also,
that's good
every
enough.
motherboard supports that.
Sure, but, they have different...
No, there's two standards, one of which is deprecated.
It could be in a different spot on the motherboard that's annoying to connect to. The arrangement of the things on the motherboard also matters a lot, because if you pair up a motherboard with a case, it's like, it's ATX. Yeah, it'll fit, but will the wiring be nice?
I would argue that the case matters way more than the motherboard in the modern era, because there's very little variation in motherboards these days.
There's still some variation. Like if you use this motherboard with a case that has a bottom power supply instead of a top power supply, suddenly the wiring's janky because the power connector on the motherboard's in a weird spot.
Except the power connectors are almost always in the same spot.
Almost always. But there's other connectors on the back of the computer that are important. Like if you've got the onboard video card, is there an HDMI or just a VGA or a DVI?
I have not yet looked. I've been clicking on like 10 motherboards here. I've not yet found one that didn't have HDMI if it had integrated video.
Does it still have PS2 mouse and keyboard if you need that?
I have not seen one yet that does not have that.
How many USB 3s are there versus USB 2s? How many FireWires are there? Does it even have FireWires? Is the onboard sound card just stereo sound, or is it surround sound? Does it have optical out, or just the analog audio out?
But I guess the point we're getting at, and that Scott's really getting at here, the feature set is what matters now, not the back-end performance-y stuff that used to matter or the compatibility stuff that used to matter.
Yep.
You can just pick a motherboard that has the features you want, and if there's two that are pretty much equal and one costs more money, look at them side by side. Most likely, the more expensive one just has extra stuff. More USB, more SATA, a dedicated SATA controller with RAID shit on it.
Well, a more expensive one could also be smaller. Smaller is usually more money, except for when it's just not as good, right? Thing
is, again, that's more limited by case and whether or not you want a gamer video card.
Yep. There's also...
And form factor, ATX, AT, micro AT.
Of course. There's also some motherboards that are just made with better components, like better capacitors that are all solid state might raise the price. Name brand raises the price.
Yep, but what is the name brand? Because the last time I was buying motherboards, it was pretty much you bought 8-bit if you overclocked and wanted features. You bought Asus if you never wanted it to crash.
Pretty much, it doesn't matter what. As far as I can tell, there's no name brand that is just better than the others. It's pretty much, is it name brand or not name brand?
Is it anything other than Asus 8-bit, Gigabyte, MSI?
Right. Is it one of the known motherboard brands, or is it not one of those brands? Is it like some ghetto brand, right? Like I have an ASRock. That's a pretty well-known brand.
ASRock's actually really popular for HTPCs.
Yeah, there's a lot of ones out there that are the big brands, but there are other brands out there. Like I'm pretty,
BioStar, ECS.
But then you're getting to the second tier, I think.
All right, Newegg only lists 6.
Alrighty then.
Asus, ASRock, Gigabyte, MSI, ECS, BioStar.
Well, ECS is the only one that I've never heard of.
Let me look at these ECS motherboards. Let's see. They look like motherboards. They're as expensive as the other brands.
Okay.
Wait a minute, this one's only $50. Let's see what's going on here.
Yeah, every motherboard manufacturer seems to have a full lineup from the cheapest to the most expensive with lots of variations. And it's like, I really wonder, like, how many people are buying each of these slight variations.
I know.
That it matters. Shouldn't they have, like, fewer motherboards of, like, just like, here's the crazy gamer one with 1 million slots. Here's the sort of normal one with a regular number of slots. Here's an micro ATX that has, like, 1 video card hole. That's it. What else do you need, guys? Really?
Yeah,
really?
and the differences are always really subtle crap. It's never like, well,
this one only has 1 SATA controller with 6 connectors, and this one has a second SATA controller with 10 SATA connectors. But those 4 extra ones are on a separate, controller.
Yep, that has its own separate, like, RAID thing.
Yeah, that launches after the first one launches on the post. And it's like, what?
But I need so little from my motherboard that I pick a name brand and I just pick the cheapest one that has all the holes I want in my motherboard.
Yeah, the other, of course, most important thing about the motherboard is the socket, right? The socket is the thing. That's where the CPU goes, and you need it to be the right shape. You need it to be the right shape to match the CPU you're going to put in it. The motherboard determines which kind of CPU it can hold and which kind of RAM it can hold. And if you want a CPU that is newer than or too far older than that motherboard or not the right shape for its socket, or a RAM that's faster than or slower than and not the right kind for that motherboard, you need a new motherboard.
Now, at the same time, a lot of motherboards will list all the speeds of RAM they'll take, but a lot of those speeds are non-standard and don't mean anything unless you're overclocking. And in fact, a lot of RAM will say it supports X speeds, but yet you're never going to actually put that in a stock computer.
It's so weird how the motherboard companies encourage overclocking, and the CPU companies encourage overclocking, and the video card companies...
Yeah, in the old days, they used to try to actively lock you out of overclocking.
No, the CPUs would be the ones to lock you out. The motherboards didn't want to lock you out.
But I remember there was a time when 8-bit seemed to be the motherboard that didn't stop you, but other motherboards didn't really give you any way to overclock without really fucking around.
But yeah, it's motherboards don't even give a shit about overclocking. The CPUs are the companies that don't want you to, but even they don't seem to be stopping anyone anymore. They're just like, go for it, whatevs.
Yeah, well, partly because I think manufacturing technology has improved, and binning is probably more common because they're not making as many bad chips. It's a guess. So things are eminently overclockable, and you're paying for the guarantee.
So another thing to watch out for with motherboards is flash and flare, right? The motherboards that have like crazy colored metal covering things that look all spiky.
You can't avoid it.
Gamery shit.
You can't avoid it.
And look at all the orange garbage all over that one.
Yeah, you know what? You can't avoid it because that's the heat pipe and all the stuff. And the kinds of people who drive the motherboard consumer market now are gamer guys anyway.
It's like you buy some RAM,
girls.
even RAM chips. You buy some RAM chips, and it's got like these blue spikes all over it, and it looks all crazy.
Well, because all RAM chips now, in the old days, you'd buy RAM, they all look the same, and then you could buy RAM coolers that you never needed, you could stick onto your RAM. Now, pretty much all the RAM comes with these crazy heat sinks sticking off the top.
Yeah, but it's like the design of them is so ridiculous, right?
Yeah, but you can't avoid it, so it doesn't matter.
The more expensive motherboards always have more ridiculous stuff on them.
Well, you can get the fatality editions of things, I guess, still.
Yeah, those are the more expensive ones.
Yep.
And the more gamer you get, the more ridiculous the motherboard looks to try to convince you to buy it when it's actually not any better. It's like they'll have another motherboard that's just as good, maybe has a few less connectors on it, and it's like, really?
It's just really
They just need to somehow psychologically convince you to buy that motherboard that's $100 more.
I really am fascinated that for the longest time, for most of the PCs I had built in the course of my life, motherboard decision mattered so much for so many reasons, and now it's fairly a generic choice that comes down to a very limited set of features I require. And most of the things I used to care about, I don't care about anymore.
Yeah, my decision-making process for buying a motherboard is pretty much this. I have this many hard drives and other CD-ROM drives and such. Does it have enough SATA connectors for all of those? If it doesn't, it's ruled out. 2, does it have a PCI Express slot that will handle the video card that I'm putting into it at maximum speed? Okay, good. It has that. It's not ruled out. Does it have a CPU socket matching the CPU that I'm going to purchase? Does it have enough RAM slots to hold the RAM that I'm going to put into it?
My trouble is the computer I built has 6 DIMM slots.
Yeah, as long as
I
it
like
has
that a lot.
as long as it has yes to all of those questions, then it's an okay motherboard, and I'll get it. And I'll get whichever one the cheapest that meets all of the requirements that is from a name brand.
Yep. Like when I think about what I look at, because I'm not going to build a new computer yet. I bought, between buying the video card and buying some more hard drives, I've staved off having to upgrade this computer that I built in 2009, mind you, for at least another year, maybe longer. But if I were to buy a new computer now, because I did the research, it's worth seeing, should I just buy a new computer rather than upgrading the one I have?
I don't think you need a new computer.
The research concluded that I don't, because buying a few hard drives cost almost nothing compared to buying a new computer. But when I was doing my research, the things that I was doing the most research on, I found, were the CPU again, like what is the exact price point to make a computer that I will not upgrade again anytime soon? Like, do I really need the i7 nowadays as opposed to in the old days? Will the i5 be good enough? Like those kinds of questions. And beyond that, it was just how much RAM do I really need? 12 or 24?
I have 32. It's crazy. I don't even need that much.
Yep. And that's it. Like, I think the case is what I'm going to agonize over the most.
Yeah, pretty much. So, motherboards. Do we have anything else to say about them?
I know. I mean, unless we get into anecdotes. I mean, remember when I had that motherboard at RIT and it started flipping out and eventually stopped working?
The capacitors exploded?
We opened it up and all the capacitors that exploded all over it because it was that janky stolen formula it was the sabotage formula for capacitor fluid.
Yep.
Those are good days. Now I just have all these extra motherboards laying around, nothing to do with them.
How many times have people tried to push a CPU heatsink onto a motherboard, pushed too hard, and broke the CPU and/or cracked the motherboard because they didn't have the motherboard seated properly?
I have never done that. But
I've never done that.
But I always think I did it every time I install a CPU.
Well, because when you put that heatsink down, it goes click, 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 and you can't tell between that noise and the motherboard breaking.
I know, because the motherboard breaking just makes a really loud single crack, and so does the heatsink actually linking in.
Yep.
So does the CPU actually linking in.
Not as much.
It used to. It used to make a much louder cracking noise.
Well, now they've moved the pins from the CPU onto the motherboard socket.
Yeah.
The sockets have changed. It used to be the pins were on the bottom of the CPU, and when the pin was bent, the CPU was ruined.
One thing
when the pin is bent, the motherboard is ruined.
One thing you can say is there was a time when they went to the socket, from the socket to the slot. The nice thing about the slot was that was not a problem. You just slid your CPU in like you did a video card.
Yeah, there are other problems with that, like performance.
Well, it's funny how
cooling.
For the short term, cooling and some kinds of performance were easier. They did that because they could fit a fuck ton more cache on the thing.
That was something for its time.
Yes, and then it's so quickly we got from cooling and cache mattering more to, the physical distance actually matters a lot. We got to actually physically get the CPU closer to the motherboard again.
Yep. Oh, well.
But yeah, motherboards are not as interesting as they used to be.
Oh, your motherboard these days, I guess we didn't mention, also includes your network card.
Yep.
It used to be you had to buy Ethernet cards.
In fact, at my first computer that had a network card, I had an ISA network card. And I also had an ISA sound card. I had a Sound Blaster AW32 plugged in to my one ISA slot, and on the same ISA bus, I had an ISA network card connected via 10-base Ethernet to my cable modem.
Up until,
anytime I started a big download, my audio would stutter.
I think up until, when we lived in Beacon, my computers had Ethernet cards that weren't the motherboard. Right?
My computer at RIT, the one I built at RIT while we were living there, I bought a dedicated network card.
Yep. And it's interesting now how it's even when I went to college, I had to buy a network card on the internet and bring it with me to college because I had just a USB modem attached to my computer, not an Ethernet card.
USB modem? I had an ISA modem.
Yeah, home computers just had friggin' modems. They didn't have network cards. You didn't have a LAN in your house, right? Hardly anyone had that.
My 486...
routers were not home equipment. Now that routers are home equipment, people have Ethernet cards just built into their... But now people are just using wireless cards. Some motherboards even have wireless built in. It's crazy.
Yeah. But the moral of this whole show is that motherboards are a lot less interesting than they used to be, and the decision doesn't matter.
It's weird, but becoming more interesting by just having more commodity stuff just built into the motherboard that doesn't matter, like sound cards, network cards. they matter less. You know, it used to matter more when the motherboard did less stuff, because then, you know, those different, you know, but now that the motherboard does so many things, it's all commoditized. So your choice is kind of meaningless.
And we're seeing this across all aspects of home computing. I mean, when I built computers back in the day, to talk about RAM for a second, I'd have to research the RAM timings.
And the RAM brands.
Yep, of my motherboard and figure out the compatibility. And then I actually would have to look at what CAS latency cycle do I want? Am I willing to pay more for CAS 2 RAM instead of CAS 3? Nowadays, if you look at RAM, it gives you all these ridiculous statistics about CAS, you know, like 12, 6, 4, 4, 4, 2, 2, 2, 1, and all these numbers that, from a performance standpoint, mean nothing. Benchmarks, there's no way to tell. It does not matter in 99.9 repeating percent of the use cases.
It only matters if overclocking is your hobby, and overclocking is a stupid hobby.
Well, even then, if it is, even if it is your hobby, most of those numbers don't matter anymore.
Yep.
All the things...
And there aren't, at least in those days, there were some games that no one could get full frames on with any equipment, right? Like, the software was outpacing the hardware you could have at your house. You got, like, Crysis the day it came out, or I forget what the other game, big deal game was before that. It's like, you couldn't full settings, full frames it no matter what you bought. And you really needed that super expensive shit. Now... you can full frames, full settings with, like, you know, last generation's equipment.
I think part of that is the advance of video cards.
That's also, the video card does more than anything. My previous computer was a Core 2 Duo. I upgraded the video card in it from an 8800 GT to a 460 or a 470, I forget. And it just went crazy fast. All the games are suddenly crazy performance, huge boost, even though nothing else changed.
Yep, and that's why...
because the video card does all the work.
And that's why when Scott said, you know, Rim, you don't need to build a new computer now. I built my computer in 2009. The only things that are
thing
obsolete...
should be good for 2 more years at least.
The only things that are obsolete are video cards and spinning discs.
That thing should be good for 2, if not 3 more years. And by then, who even knows the desktop will still be a thing.
Probably 2, because there is actually a problem. It does not support... PCI Express 3 fully, the new high speed. So I will actually not get full theoretical performance out of my GTX 770.
When you do upgrade in 2 years, you'll probably be able to bring that video card over with you.
Yeah, when I say upgrade my computer, you know what that would entail in the modern era? A new CPU, a new motherboard, RAM to put in it if it doesn't use the same RAM I already have, and new hard drives. Maybe. Maybe.
Hard drives tend to be the thing that lasts the longest. Like my drives, I usually
upgrade,
carry drives around for like 15 years before.
The only reason I need to upgrade drives is that this computer was built before SSDs were really available. I mean, I bought a 32 gig SSD at considerable expense, and I ran my games off of that. 32 gigs. Now, I can just buy a bunch of hybrid drives and whatever, and actually I'm thinking about sticking these 2 new drives in and doing a RAID 0 just for video editing performance.
You do whatever you can do.
Yeah, but the point is, the computer upgrade cycle is so drastically different from what it used to be that my CPU is a limit on rendering video. If I render a video and I had a faster processor, it might take 4 less hours out of the 18 hours it takes.
Whoa.
Whoa. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night. It's the heavy-hitting day of Burning Con for a Netrunner tournament, of which there are 2 a month, when there is only 1 Burning Con a year. That is just fucking stupid, right? And normally, I would. But this isn't just any Netrunner tournament.
Okay.
This is the Netrunner Plugged In Tour. They're basically the Fantasy Flight peoples are traveling around the country to only a handful of places to run, basically, super Netrunner tournaments. between October 4th
So
and
what differentiates
November
a
3rd.
Super Netrunner tournament from a regular one?
Basically, the official dudes are going to be there, and it's all Super Series business. And they're giving away, I don't care about the swag.
What, rare cards?
No, it's just swag like playmats and stuff. I don't care about that shit.
Okay.
But if you go to one of these, you can vote. There's 2 runners, and you vote on which one you want to be real. And then whichever one wins all the voting, and it's only voting by people at these tournaments, will become an actual runner card. Each turn, you may force the corp to draw 1 card.
Ah.
So when their hand is full with 5 cards, you run HQ. You take a look-see, maybe with a nerve agent or an HQ interface. Then, if they still have 5 cards, now they've got 6. And then their turn starts, and they draw another one. Now they got 7. And they're going to have to throw something out.
All right,
Or use it all, or something, and then
so-
you run HQ again with your HQ interfaces.
So, Scott, point the first. It's not Tuesday, it's Monday.
All right.
Point the second. You always give me shit for talking about this shit in the non-meta moment section of the show.
That's true.
So what gives?
It's an intentional back attack.
So you realize all you have done is given me carte blanche.
No.
You,
Not
that
at
in
all.
fact, you have legitimized me, Scott.
Not at all.
And if you and Emily have learned anything about me, it's that legitimizing me is the last thing you want to do.
Did you, right?
Did
not try to shut me down.
I let you talk but at the same time, I kind of like my own New Year's. So I like the fact that now we're going to go to MagFest after having New Year's in the same town as MagFest, but not at MagFest.
Well, there are a few things people should know. Next weekend, the 21st and 22nd, is the Maker Faire in New York City.
That's the following weekend. Oh, no, it's
I said
never
the 21st and the 22nd. Yeah.
mind. Not this weekend. Next, you did it right for once. Usually I jump all on you for doing that wrong. I apologize.
Anyway,
I was incorrect.
October 18, 19, 20, Burning Con 2013, the Pentaclagon.
Can you still buy tickets?
I don't know.
I still got to submit my game.
Yep. I might miss Saturday.
What?
There's a Netrunner tournament. And
Really?
No? Okay.
Really?
So, normally, I would be like, Netrunner tournament. There's like 2 Netrunner tournaments a month, and there's 1 Burning Con a year.
Also, Saturday is the heavy-hitting day
right.
of Burning Con.
Why would I skip?
It's Monday, September 9th, 2013. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, Motherboards. I can't believe we haven't talked about Motherboards.
Or have we?
Let's do this. Well, we're back legit from PAX.
Yep.
And now we got pretty much nothing until MagFest.
What?
Not yet. I'm not gonna do the second half of that until it's within a month. MagFest season is kind of like the lead up to Christmas. You can't bring out that Christmas tree at least until after Halloween.
MagFest has effectively replaced Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever, Kwanzaa. You don't celebrate that shit. It's just fucking New Year's.
Colossusmas.
New Year's MagFest. That is what is coming.
So right? I almost
fuck everything else.
I almost regret not going to one of those New Year's MagFest.
And the other one will be forever derezzed.
Great. So Rainbow Dash is going to be the next runner.
Well, no,
I'm assuming.
the 2 choices are right here. There's the Collective and there's Laramie Fisk.
I vote for Laramie Fisk.
I also vote for Laramie Fisk simply because he's not only better in every way.
He's better in one way. His name.
Yeah. He's a criminal, and we got the other one's a shaper, and we have plenty of shapers. So the Collective, what that one does is the first time you perform the same action 3 times in a row each turn, gain a click. Which is pretty powerful because, like, if you're running a magnum opus with those guys, you could just be like,
Magnum,
take
Magnum,
10.
Magnum.
Exactly. But
Magnum.
their minimum deck size is 55.
Well, 50. I thought you were going to say 50.
No, it's big.
50.
They have to have a big deck, and their influence is 5, so it's pretty much shaper cards and more shaper cards.
Not going to play with that.
Yeah, Laramie Fisk, he's normal. He's a criminal. 45-15 normal numbers, and it says the first time you make a successful run on a central server